The FL-10 is a great addition to any boat. It's designed to fit directly into a standard 3 3/8 inch instrument gauge hole, the size found in most boats today. Installing the FL-10 as a replacement for an older in-dash flasher is easy and may not require drilling any holes in your boat at all. However, in some cases, drilling will be required. The first step is to find a suitable location for the flasher unit and a convenient spot for the control assembly. Keep the control close to the flasher so the connecting cable will reach. If you need to drill a new hole for the flasher, you'll need a drill bit for a 3 3/8 inch or 3.5 inch hole. Drill out the hole and then route the cables through. Set the flasher into place, making sure the rubber trim gasket is properly in place and the zero position on the dial is up. Drill the control assembly using a 3/8 inch drill bit. Then place the control decal into position. Make sure it's straight and the hole is lined up. Next, place the metal U-bracket onto the shaft and tighten the flasher into position using the large wing nut supplied. Make sure none of the cables get pinched between the bracket and the flasher. Tighten the nut and then make sure the flasher unit is securely mounted to the panel. Insert the control into the hole from behind the panel. Push it through until you have about a 1/4 inch of thread showing on the front side. Place your thumb against the threaded shaft right up next to the back of the panel to mark the location for the inner nut. Pull the control switch back out and thread on one of the supplied nuts to the shaft and screw it down to the spot your thumb is marking. Next, place one of the star washers onto the switch shaft. Insert the control back into the hole from the back side. Now from the top side, place another star washer onto the shaft and then thread on the remaining nut. Now, unlike the flasher, it does not matter which direction the control is rotated at this point. Tighten it securely. Next, place the larger O-ring onto the shaft and slip it down to where the shaft meets the threads. Now, put on the large control knob and secure it using the Allen wrench provided, making sure it rests on the O-ring. Tighten the knob into place and rotate the knob counterclockwise until it stops. Loosen the nut again and align the knob so that the white line lines up with the off position on the decal. Tighten the set screws securely. Install the smaller O-ring and then the smaller control knob. Tighten into position the same way as you did the larger knob. Only align it so that the white line meets the min position on the decal when rotated fully counterclockwise. Now if you turn the knobs and both rotate when only one is turned, loosen the smaller knob. Raise it slightly and then tighten into position again. Installation of the O-rings is very important to keep water out of the switch assembly. Connect the power cord to a 12-volt power supply, white to positive and black to negative. Be sure to securely attach the control cable to the control. Now connect the 3-pin cable to the transducer cable connection. Power up your system and make sure you can feel the transducer ticking as the flasher runs. Be sure to review the section on this DVD on transducer installation. You'll want to do it right to get the very best performance from your FL-10. Once installed, the FL-10 is a snap to operate and understand. There are only 2 controls that offer 3 functions. The smaller knob controls the gain or amplification of the sonar signal. A good starting point is to set it up halfway. From there you can raise or lower it until you get the desired setting. The larger control knob turns the flasher on and off and sets the maximum depth range. Turning this knob one click to the right sets the unit for the 0 to 20 foot operation. To read the depth, line up the leading edge of the large red band with the outer numbered depth scale. If the depth does not show, turn the knob one more click to the right. Now you use the inner scale to read your depth. If the water is deeper than 40 feet, the maximum depth of this unit range, switch to the final range setting, which is 0 to 200 feet. For this range, use the outer depth scale and interpret the reading times 10. For example, if the bottom lines up with the 5, you're in 50 feet of water. If you're traveling and set in the 20-foot range, when the water gets deeper than 20 feet, you'll need to switch to a deeper range to keep the bottom in view. Well, instead of switching ranges a lot, try setting the range for 200 feet. You can always switch shallower if you want to zoom in to get a better view. Remember, the flasher's reading in real time. The reading shows what's under your boat right now. The colors red, orange, and green indicate the relative strength of the sonar signal. Green represents the weaker signals, such as light weeds or baitfish. Orange will indicate stronger signals, but red shows the strongest signals and bottom. Set the gain control so the bottom has a good red color to it. Now, too much gain will clutter the display, making it hard to see individual targets. And too little gain will cause the bottom to fade in and out. Well, now that you've got your new FL-10 installed, get out on the water.
I'm idling across this weed flat, looking on my flasher for a hard bottom ridge that's got some gravel mixed in it. The bass really gravitate towards that. Okay, now my signal's starting to turn red a little bit here, indicating a harder bottom, and the depth's coming up a foot or two. So that's my ridge where I'm going to find some bass. And that's the thing I like about flashers, is that it gives me a competitive advantage in tournament bass fishing, especially in the world of tournament fishing today. It's very competitive. So I'm looking for every little angle I can get that's going to put me ahead of the pack. And flashers is just one of those tools that can do that for me. I still like my graphs. They have their time and place too. But flashers have some things that they can do that graphs can't. So let me show you what those are. The first advantage that I like about flashers versus graphs is their shallow water performance. And by that I mean a graph and a flasher don't give you the same things in shallow water. A flasher will be able to read shallow water much better than a graph. A graph's signal that's displayed, typically it'll blend everything together so you can't tell. Are you in 2 foot? Are you in 3 foot? Some graphs even have problems differentiating the bottom in like 5 feet. So whereas this flasher, this FL-10 here, it can read 1 foot, it can read 1.5 foot, it can read 2 feet. I got that reading, and this is really important in muddy water, muddy rivers, muddy reservoirs, just any situation where it's been muddied up. Oftentimes in that situation, the bass are going to be shallow, so you're going to want to know, is it 1.5 feet, is it 2.5 feet, and so forth. And then also just idling around in those situations. You get up on these shallow, muddy flats, you can't see bottom. Are there stumps? I mean, if there's lots of stumps, you want to know these things. So it just comes in handy for just navigational purposes as well. All right, the second big advantage I like of flashers versus graphs is their ability to read through thick vegetation. Now, if you take a graph, for example, when you drive your graph over a weed bed, I mean, the screen will just like black out practically, and you can't tell where the weeds end, where the bottom is. It's just kind of one big blended scene, and you can't tell what's going on. A flasher, on the other hand, you can still read where the bottom is. You can read the tops of the weeds, and it just gives you a much better picture of what's going on, especially with the real-time ability of a flasher, you can see where the openings are in the weeds, where the pockets are. And you know, these are types of places where bass will seek out in the weed beds. And now, plus rocks, gravel, you can see different types of bottom types with a flasher. And a graph just can't do that. It's just one big blended mess, and you don't know what's going on. The flasher's a huge advantage in thick vegetation, and I wouldn't be without one. Another nice feature about flashers is that they're really simple to use. I mean, you turn it on, set your depth, set your gain, and you're good to go. With your gain, just don't set it too high. If it's too high, you'll just have signals all over the dial. And if it's too low, well, you may not even have a signal over soft bottom. There's full gain, little much of a signal. You can see there's some bait we're going over. And that's minimum gain, basically no signal. So what I want to do is find a signal in there that'll be kind of in between, something like that. Now if I happen to go over bait, it's going to pick it up. And we should be drifting into the weed line here, and I'll be able to show you what it looks like inside the weeds when I go to full gain. Now here you can see the leading edge is what you read on these signals. It's 12 feet, and the backside is what we call the tail. And the longer that tail, that indicates the softer the bottom. So long tail, soft bottom, short tail, hard bottom. Not only the color change of going to red to indicate hard bottom, but also that tail. Now you can see we've gone up in the milfoil, and if I turn it up to full gain, that's what you have. It's just pretty much a mess. You can still see the red there, consistently showing up in there. That's your bottom, but really we don't, just up that high, it's just kind of a mess. So I like to turn it down from that. I still want to get kind of a red signal in my bottom reading, but I do turn it down. Something like that is what I'd probably put it on for inside the milfoil. All right, once you adjust your flasher to a gain setting that you're comfortable with, now don't touch it, because now we're going to use it to find gravel and rock bottoms from silt bottoms. Now you can see right now we're on a soft bottom with a lot of green flickering. That's the soft silty bottom. Now as the boat moves over this point, you'll notice that you start getting more reds in there. And the red is the gravel and the rock that's on top of this point. There it is, and there it is. That's a good spot right there. Oftentimes I'll catch some fish there. All right, so there you have it. Those are the reasons why I love flashers and what they can do for me in my fishing. Whether it be the FL-10, the FL-8, or the FL-18, they're great units that will make you a better bass fisherman. So learn a little bit about these units, give them a try, and for sure they'll help you be a lot better fisherman, especially in today's competitive bass tournament world. Man, I gotta have those advantages. So take care and good luck to you.